It is 9 p.m. in Washington, 7 a.m. in Kiev, and 2 on a Tuesday afternoon here in Seoul. I'm Kim Hyun-ji. Thanks for joining us. Let's get a check of the main stories we're following at this hour. Marking the first anniversary of her inauguration, President Park Geun-hye on Tuesday vows to raise the nation's potential economic growth rate to above 4% by the year 2017. Through her economic reform plan, she aims to achieve a creative economy with strong fundamentals. The two Koreas on Tuesday wrapped up their 2 rounds of reunions for war-separated families at North Korea's Mount Kumgang, as nearly 500 divided family members from both sides said tearful farewells. Ukraine is moving swiftly to fill the remaining seats of a new government. It says it will name an acting prime minister by Tuesday, even as Russia is stepping up its rhetoric against the new leadership. But let's kick things off with President Park's blueprint for economic growth for the next 3 years. Today, February 25th, marks the first anniversary of President Park Geun-hye's inauguration. In a televised address to the nation this morning, the president laid out the details of our previously introduced 3-year economic innovation plan. And to give us the details of what was included in our plan, we now connect live to our presidential correspondent Jin-ju at the presidential office of Cheongwade. So, Jin-ju, what were some of the goals President Park outlined for the nation this morning?
Well, Yeonji, President Park first vowed to raise the nation's potential growth rate to above 4% by the year 2014 through her economic reform plan. She unveiled 3 key goals of this plan: an economy with strong fundamentals, an innovative and dynamic economy, and lastly, an economy that balances domestic demand and exports. The president said that she will start by rooting out abnormal practices and wrong policies, especially in the public sector, that have been overlooked by previous administrations. Now, abnormal practices include lax management, high debt levels, and all sorts of corruption. President Park pledged to reduce and cap the debt ratio of public institutions at 200%, which is the upper limit for private companies to issue corporate bonds. The Korea Land and Housing Corporation, for example, which has debts of more than $128 billion, had a debt ratio of over 400% as of last year. The president also laid out measures to protect employees and restore fairness in the economy. She promised to reduce the income gap between permanent and temporary workers and strengthen the restrictions against layoffs. The president vowed to gradually expand unemployment insurance to cover owner-operators, artists, and day-to-day workers.
So, Jin-ju, let's go over to her pledge for an innovative and dynamic economy. Certainly, fostering a creative economy has been one of her flagship policy goals.
Yes, President Park's push for a so-called creative economy comes as an important part of her goal towards an innovative economy. She pledged to invest a total of $3.7 billion to create a better business environment for startups and venture firms in the country over the next 3 years and increase investment in research and development to 5% of the country's GDP by the year 2017. The Korean government also aims to expand its free trade agreements with other countries to cover 70% of the entire world market. Currently, the FTAs Korea has with other nations cover about 55% of the world's GDP. Now, for a balanced economy, President Park emphasized the importance of boosting domestic demand. Now, how? The president pointed to lowering the nation's mounting household debt and solving the skyrocketing prices of jeonse, a lump sum payment for a long-term housing rental. She pledged to reduce the country's household debt ratio by 5 percentage points by 2017 by handing out tax benefits and introducing fixed interest rates and level debt services for mortgage loans. Another important key to boosting domestic demand, according to President Park, is job creation. Now, her plan includes creating 500,000 jobs for young people and 1.5 million jobs for women.
Jin-ju, I also hear that the president also unveiled plans to prepare for an era of a unified Korea.
Yes, that's right. The Park administration will set up a presidential reunification preparation committee to work towards what she called a systematic and constructive reunification. This committee will be in charge of preparing for reunification on the Korean Peninsula and expanding inter-Korean exchanges and dialogue. Experts and civic groups in various sectors of foreign affairs, security, the economy, and culture will be joining the committee to come up with a specific blueprint for a unified Korea. Now, following the address, President Park has presided over an economy ministers meeting to discuss specific measures for her three-year economic plan. Yeonji?
Okay, Jinju, thank you very much for that report. That was our presidential correspondent Oh Jin-ju reporting live on President Park's three-year economic innovation plan that she laid out this Tuesday morning. The two Koreas have wrapped up their 2 rounds of reunions for war-separated families on this Tuesday at North Korea's Mount Kumgang. Nearly 500 divided family members said their final and tearful farewells earlier this morning, and some 350 South Korean participants will return to the South at around 5 p.m. Korea time. The 6-day reunion event was the first in more than 3 years. In the first round, 82 South Koreans who applied for the event reunited with their families in the North, while 88 North Koreans met with their South Korean family members in the next round. While the two Koreas were conducting inter-Korean family reunions, a North Korean military patrol ship crossed the maritime border in the West Sea 3 times between just before 11 p.m. Monday night and 3 a.m. Tuesday morning, but there were no skirmishes between the countries. South Korea's defense ministry said Tuesday that the North Korean vessel crossed the northern limit line, the de facto maritime border between the two Koreas, going 3.5 kilometers over the border on 3 different occasions. The boat crossed near Yeonpyeong Island, which was the site of a deadly shelling by the North in 2010. The South Korean military sent high-speed patrol boats to the area after warnings it issued were ignored by the North. The boat turned back at around 2:30 this morning. The ministry says that it is highly likely that the North sent the boat to the area on purpose, since it ignored warnings and lingered in the area for a long time. The Japanese government seems to be stepping up efforts to revise its imperialistic past. Following a suggestion by his chief cabinet secretary, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is reportedly considering a revision to Tokyo's 1993 apology for its system of wartime sex slavery. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
In a move certain to draw fury from Korea and the rest of Asia, Japan says it's looking into revising its landmark apology for its wartime system of sex slavery. The Kyodo news agency reported Monday that Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is mulling over revising the 1993 Kono statement after his chief cabinet secretary Yoshihide Suga said that evidence given by women forced to work in Japan's military brothels that forms the basis of the statement will be re-examined. In a recent poll by the Sankei Shimbun, 58.6% of respondents said Tokyo should revise the statement, while only 23.8% said it should not. In another move short to inflame regional tensions, Japan's foreign ministry posted a video Monday criticizing Korea for causing, quote, unnecessary confusion by pressing other countries to adopt the name EC when referring to the body of water between Korea and Japan. The video says Sea of Japan has been the internationally established name for the waters since the end of the 18th century. Tokyo's move appears aimed at curbing state legislation in the United States that would require the use of both names in school textbooks after Virginia passed such a bill. Korea considers the name Sea of Japan a legacy of Japan's imperialistic past as it came into use during Japan's colonial rule of Korea in the early 20th century. Kim Ji-yeon, ARIRANG News.
One of Korea's major union groups and the Railway Union are staging a massive rally around the nation this Tuesday to protest what they say is the government's move to eventually privatize a state-run rail operator and its oppression of workers. But train services have not been affected. Our Son Jang-in has the details.
The Union of the Korea Railroad Corporation launched a scheduled one-day protest Tuesday, despite stern warnings from the government to anyone participating in the rally. The union is demanding the state-run railway operator withdraw punishments against unionists who took part in a strike last December, which was held to protest the government plan to create a subsidiary to run a high-speed train line. The union claims the plan was a precursor to the privatization of Korail. The rail operator has described Tuesday's protest as illegal and dispatched some 1,800 replacement workers so train services are not disrupted. The Korean Confederation of Trade Unions are joining the rally throughout the day to protest against the Park Geun-hye administration, claiming it has not kept its promise to democratize the country's economy and improve the welfare system. Some 200,000 KCTU members are also walking off the job on Tuesday and participating in rallies to be held simultaneously in 12 cities nationwide, including Seoul and Busan. 손정인, 아리랑 뉴스.
When Samsung unveils a new device, the world takes notice. And when the Korean firm shows off its latest smartphone, that interest is piqued even further. Well, that's exactly what Samsung has done at the Mobile World Congress, giving the public their first look of the highly anticipated Galaxy S5. Our Shin Se-min has the latest.
Samsung Electronics has unveiled the latest model in its widely popular Galaxy range of smartphones, but not only that. Samsung's new smartwatch and fitness wristband are also taking pride of the place at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. The Galaxy S5, the Gear 2, and the Gear Fit are the latest offerings from Samsung and the clearest indication yet that the battleground for the smart world is shifting towards wearable devices. Equipped with a 16-megapixel camera, the Galaxy S5 comes with a larger display than its predecessor, clocking in at an impressive 5.1 inches. The ultra-saving mode has also improved the battery life. Users can now browse the internet for 10 hours on a single charge, and the download booster feature will help users download contents much faster. A new smartphone also adopts fingerprint screening, a feature that should make mobile transactions safer and easier. Not only that, users can even wash their Galaxy S5 with water, as it is not only waterproof but completely dust-resistant. Samsung also continues its push towards connected devices, as the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the Gear Fit allow users to track their heartbeat with a heart rate monitor to effectively manage its users' workouts, a first for the industry. Samsung's new devices will be launched globally in April. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
Let's now take a look at how the local stock market is doing. Seoul shares are trading higher this Tuesday as investors respond warmly to President Park Geun-hye's three-year economic innovation plan. As of 1:30 p.m. Korea time, the benchmark Kospi went up nearly 0.7% to trade at 1962, while the tech-heavy Kosdaq was also up 0.3% at 528. On the foreign exchange counter, the Korean currency was changing hands at 1,071 against the greenback. In another news, you can barely see the skyline in Seoul this afternoon. A thick blanket of haze and smog is hanging over the nation, partly from the high levels of ultra-fine particles blowing in China and also from factories and vehicles here in Korea. And unfortunately, it won't be long before the air gets even worse. With the annual arrival of yellow dust from China in the spring, our Connie Lee has more.
It's a hazy, smoggy Tuesday in Seoul. Visibility levels are expected to be at a low of 2.5 kilometers or less across the nation this week.
I wore a mask out because I heard the fine dust particle levels are high. I can actually feel that my throat is dry and uncomfortable.
This is in part from the worsening smog in China, where fine dust levels have been at least 9 times higher than levels recommended by the World Health Organization. And according to environmental researchers in Korea, factories and vehicles in the nation are also to blame for the smog, which can cause respiratory and cardiac problems. On Monday, the Seoul city government issued a fine dust advisory around noon and asked people to stay indoors. The particulate matter level of 2.5 was high, at 92 micrograms per cubic meter for over 2 hours. The limit recommended by the Korean government is 85 micrograms per cubic meter. And it looks like these conditions will remain until the arrival of rain, a forecast for Thursday nationwide. But in the weeks to come, conditions could worsen as the smog could soon be joined by the annual arrival of yellow dust come March.
The conditions in the Gobi Desert and in Inner Mongolia are set to become drier in March, so the yellow dust could start coming into Korea via the northwesterly winds.
The Korea Meteorological Administration says the yellow dust levels this year will be similar to last, but instead of conditions peaking in April, the highest levels could come a month earlier. Connie Lee, ARIRANG News.
Ukraine will name an acting prime minister and fill the remaining seats of a new unity government by Tuesday. This comes as Russia continues to step up its rhetoric against the new leadership headed by Alexander Turchinov. Kim Min-ji reports.
Ukraine's new interim president, Alexander Turchinov, expects lawmakers to vote Tuesday on a national unity government led by a prime minister that is favored and trusted by the people. The empty seats in government will likely be filled swiftly so officials can seek economic assistance to stave off default. Turchinov says the new government will be equipped with various tasks such as stopping the country's slide and creating new jobs, as well as returning to the European integration path. He also said Ukraine is willing to build relations with Russia in a new and fair partnership. While work on the interim government is underway in Ukraine, Russia is questioning the legitimacy of the opposition and is continuing to denounce the ousting of President Viktor Yanukovych. Ukraine issued an arrest warrant for Yanukovych on Monday on charges of mass murder of citizens during protests. Russia's Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev said Ukraine's interim authorities are the result of an armed mutiny. In the meantime, the U.S. continues to pressure Russia not to intervene in Ukraine. On Monday, Washington also said it was ready to provide financial assistance to Kiev. European officials are also in talks on sending financial support to the country. Ukraine says it needs an estimated $35 billion to survive the next 2 years. Ukraine could also have a new president by the summer after the nation's parliament decided to bump up the presidential election by almost a year to the end of May. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
The death toll from Sunday's car bomb explosion in Bangkok has risen to 3 after a 6-year-old girl died of her injuries on Monday. And amid this angry backdrop, the head of Thailand's army took the unusual step of urging all sides to solve their problems peacefully through talks. In a rare televised speech Monday, General Prayut Chan-o-cha said the military will not intervene, but will deploy troops to protect civilians. He added that in the case of further loss of life, there won't be any winners or losers, and the country will break down. Analysts say the chief, who has so far chosen to remain neutral, seemed to be sending a warning to anti-government protesters. And now it's time for our regular arts and culture segment with Lee Tae-ho. And today, Tae-ho brings with him some great ideas for how to enjoy tomorrow's Culture Day. Good afternoon, Tae-ho.
Good afternoon, Yeonji.
So first things first, tomorrow is the last Wednesday of the month. And of course, that means that it will be the nation's second Culture Day, right?
That's right. Now, with the success of last month's first ever Culture Day, February this month, there's 127 more venues or participating venues that will be added to the total list that visitors and fans of arts and culture can enjoy, making the grand total at 1,010 venues, which is definitely great news for all of us fans of arts and culture.
That's great. But before you get to that, you have some news about a new theatrical production.
That's right. Now, this theatrical production is unique in the fact that it combines the Korean traditional martial art of Taekwondo and a piece of Korean history. Let's take a look. The tale of Korean independence activist An Jung-gun comes to life in a unique fashion by the students and professors of Usok University, located in Jeollabuk-do Province. The tale of An's great sacrifice is revisited in the form of a theatrical production called The Bluebird's Dream, An Jung-gun, and it combines this pivotal chapter in Korean history with the traditional Korean martial art of Taekwondo.
I really felt the urgency of An Jung-gun's dream of Korean independence. I practiced for many hours to capture that feeling of urgency.
The students and professors of the Taekwondo department worked hand in hand to prepare this marvelous production.
We designed and created all the props. It was difficult preparing everything. We even put together all the lighting.
The response to the production has been so overwhelming that, in April, the whole production will embark on a month-long tour of the United States.
We were invited to perform in the United States, and we'll be performing in New York, Washington, D.C., and North Carolina.
The Bluebird's Dream, Anjungun, is a brand new concept for a theatrical production that promises both excitement and heart-wrenching emotions.
So this theatrical production is based on history, but it also has an element of Taekwondo, and that's just exciting.
That's right. It combines a very fun element, excitement of Taekwondo and martial arts, of course, and also a piece of important Korean history that, it shows fans that, stage production can be both educating and, of course, exciting as well.
That's right. Well, now on to some ideas for our Culture Day tomorrow.
Well, interestingly enough, last month's first ever Culture Day saw a boom in art exhibitions with the brand new Seoul branch of the Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art among the top venues to visit for fans of arts and culture. It boasted an increase of 167% compared to the day before. So there's a lot of art exhibitions that people may not know about, which is some good ideas for, of course, tomorrow's Culture Day.
Right, that is quite impressive indeed.
And since art exhibitions seem like the hot ticket for Culture Day, why don't we go ahead and take a look at some great art exhibitions that you may not have known about. On the rooftop of an art museum, under the night sky, a peculiar light can be seen, lit up inside what looks to be a small room. This is a unique installation titled Disappearing Room. Visitors can experience what it feels like to disappear while also enjoying the nighttime scenery.
Visitors can go into the room and really disappear. My intent was to create a slapstick comedy type of experience for visitors to enjoy.
10 artists have gathered to present unique exhibitions held not inside but on top of and around the museum grounds. And the Disappearing Room is just one part of the exhibition titled 6-8 that is currently being held at the Gyeongju branch of the Art Sonje Center in Gyeongsanbuk-do until March 29th. The title simply represents the hours that the exhibition can be enjoyed from 6 to 8 in the evening. Also currently on display is the craft exhibition, Ongi. It's a massive collection by over 100 artists and designers, displaying over 360 pieces of artwork, including pieces by master artisan Min Young-gi, whose works have been displayed at the Victoria Albert Museum in England and the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. This comprehensive craft exhibition consists of both classic crafts by master artisans and also more contemporary works crafted by modern artists. The title Ongi depicts the passion of the artist and the perfection of the crafts, which can be experienced at Culture Station's Hall 284 in Jongno-gu's Hall until March 9th.
Well, those are some great ideas for fans of arts and culture, and I'm sure they will be out and about enjoying these culture exhibitions and things like that. And I need to personally take advantage of this, Culture Day myself.
Well, these are just a few of the 1,000 different venues that are participating in this month's Culture Day. So why not get out, enjoy the weather, and I think we'll be seeing this Culture Day idea boom and succeed even further as the weather starts to warm up. Because as of now, the weather's still cold and we're having all this ultrafine dust warnings, but people still opt to go out and really enjoy the arts and culture with this opportunity of free events held by the government and, of course, the many different participating venues, which include movie theaters as well as sports venues. So there's a wide variety of different activities that people can enjoy on Culture Day.
So this idea of Culture Day seems to be gaining popularity more and more. So do you think the number of venues participating in this event will increase as the year goes on?
Well, I think it really will, because In the 1 month between the first and second Culture Day between last month and this month, we've already seen 127 more participating venues, and I think this will only increase as the cultural activities really start to pick up as the weather starts to warm up, because right now, like I mentioned before, it's still cold, and normally this was considered the slow season for cultural activities, but when the warm weather starts to creep in during the spring and summer, of course, I think we'll really start to see this take off even more.
All right, well, Teo, sounds good to me. Thank you, Teo. We will see you again tomorrow.
All right.
That brings us to the end of this newscast. I'll be back with more of the day's latest at 4 p.m. Korea time. See you then.